Green Bay Packers wide receiver news keeps on rolling in, but today we are talking about Romeo Doubs because reportedly the Green Bay Packers have received a couple of trade offers for the wide receiver. Easton Butler is the one who broke the news on Twitter. This was late last night. It says, several teams we have called the Packers asking about the availability of Packers wide receiver Romeo Doubs. At least 2 teams have an offer on the table, I am told. And I touched on this briefly last night when we were talking about the Christian Watson extension. To me, that said a lot, okay? That told me a lot about how Green Bay not only feels about the future for Christian Watson, but it also told me a little bit how they feel about the future for Romeo Doubs as well. We kind of knew going into this season they were only going to pick one of those 2 guys to extend because they both were at the end of their contracts. This was contract years for both of those guys. And with the drafting of both Matthew Golden and Savion Williams, that room got a lot better. It got a lot more crowded. And they're not going to hand 2 different wide receivers 2 different contract extensions, okay? And so when that news broke yesterday about Christian Watson, I kind of felt that Romeo Doubs, this might be his last season in Green Bay anyway. And then after that extension news broke, we got the trade rumors and the news that there are 2 teams that have officially put offers on the table for Romeo Doubs. Stick around. Don't go anywhere, okay? Because we have another Romeo Doubs report. This one has to do with the contract extension talks for him earlier in this offseason. News I didn't know and news I'm sure you did not know as well, so don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss that. Before that, though, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. I thought it'd be fun today, okay? Random Wednesday. Let's go ahead and just challenge the rest of the NFC North to a race to 50 subs. I think after week 1, it's obvious that the Green Bay Packers have the best team in the NFC North. I want to prove to everybody here at Chat Sports and to my bosses that, look, hey, the Packers Report is the best channel in the NFC North as well. So if you have not joined us yet, hit that subscribe button, free daily coverage, and you get to help prove to everybody that Packers fans are the best in the world. I do think that Green Bay would be interested in parting, okay? And there's a lot of you who think Green Bay wouldn't be interested in parting with Romeo Doubs, right? That's a lot of what I heard from y'all over the offseason. We talked a decent bit about trading Romeo Doubs. However, the report that we got is apparently over the summer, his camp wanted an extension. And as we sit right now, September 10th, the year of our Lord 2025, Romeo Doubs doesn't have an extension. Justin Mosqueda gave us a little bit more. Justice Mosqueda. I can report that this offseason, Dobbs' team looked for a multi-year extension in the range of Shakir's deal with Buffalo, only for talks to stall. He was floated as a trade piece for players and picks at various points this spring and summer, but obviously the Packers haven't found a deal that they've liked. Green Bay also wasn't the team that initiated these talks, and if last night's report is correct as well, these talks are still being initiated by other teams. So that Khalil Shakir extension looks like follow. 4 years, $60.20 million total. That averages out to $15.05 million a year. $32 million of that is guaranteed. So, Romeo Doubs wanted $15 million a year. And what did Green Bay do? They let those talks stall out. And then last night, they gave a guy who was recovering from an ACL tear $13.2 million for 1 year. Now, it's a different situation, right? That money looks like it's a lot because $13 million is a lot. But in my opinion, that contract last night, like we talked last night, is just giving this team another year to evaluate Christian Watson and giving Christian Watson another year to prove this team, hey, I want a longer deal with a little bit more money, but I got to prove it to you. I got to stay healthy. But guys, let's be real. This wide receiver room is a pretty crowded one, which isn't a bad problem to have. You got a lot of talent when you added in Matthew Golden and Savion Williams. You got Doubs. You got Reed. You've got Dontavian Wicks, who looked phenomenal against the Detroit Lions. And then, of course, Christian Watson's going to come off PUP in the next 4, 5, 6 weeks or so. And that's going to add another name to this list, okay? And so my opinion, if you deal Romeo Doubs, your 2026 season looks like this. Matthew Golden, Jayden Reed, Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, Savion Williams, and whoever's going to fill in that 6th spot. Guys, that's still a really, really good unit. And I think that's why they feel comfortable with parting for Doubs. And I think that's why multiple teams are putting offers out there to trade for Doubs, because they realize that he's a guy that Green Bay doesn't necessarily, I don't want to say need, because I like Romeo Doubs as the player. I think he's an awesome player. He made one amazing catch against the Lions on Sunday, that deep ball from him to Jordan Love. But teams are looking at him as the wide receiver that's on the outside looking in, because everybody knows that they prefer Christian Watson over him. I still don't think a trade is going to happen until near the trade deadline, because right now there's no reason for it to happen before that for Green Bay, because Christian Watson's not back yet. Romeo Doubs, like I said, is a hell of a player. And so why would they trade away a guy that they could have for the next 6-7 weeks, and then, once they get to the deadline, Christian Watson's back. Maybe teams would get desperate, throw them a little bit more than they ever thought they could get, and then they would deal Doubs. That's when it makes the most sense for me, but not any time in the next couple of weeks. So why would you trade him? Well, he's a free agent at the end of the year, so he's most likely gone anyway, and that Christian Watson extension, in my opinion, proves that. And the reason they didn't want to get an extension done earlier in this offseason, that proves that as well. He's got the concussion history. You see him out there in the Guardian cap. There was that team drama in 2024, not 2025. That's my bad on that. And then also the problem with drops, which isn't a solo Romeo Doubs problem. It's also Jayden Reed and Dontavian Wicks problem. But when you add the other three and that, it makes it a little bit of a bigger deal. I want you to act like you are the Green Bay Packers general manager. Act like you're Brian Gutekunst. Should the Packers trade Romeo Doubs? You let me know in the comment section down below by giving me a yes or a no. Do your best Brian Gutekunst impression and let me know your answer. Before we go on to what's next, okay? Who could be interested? That's the question we're about to answer. I'm going to give you 2 teams to keep your eye out on and to keep a lookout for that might be those 2 teams that offer to trade for Romeo Doubs. Before that, though, I got an awesome trade for you. You trade in $33, you get this awesome Green Bay Packers polo. If you go to chatsports.com/GB Polo, you can take advantage of this deal right now that's going on Fanatics for $22 off. I know everybody's closet needs a little bit of an upgrade. I got a lot of Packer stuff. I'm sure you have just as much as I do, but it's never enough, is it? You can get this sweet polo for just $33. And I'll tell you this, as long as this team keeps winning, the longer we go on in this football season, this deal's not going to last much longer. Okay, so take advantage of it while you can. Chatsports.com/GB Polo. I'll put that link in the comment section and description of today's video. So my guess for the 2 teams that have an offer out for Romeo Doubs right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New England Patriots. And I'll be honest, if you've watched this channel for any time, and if you've watched any of my past videos about talking about trading for Romeo Doubs, you've seen those 2 teams on this list, because I think it makes the most sense. So why Pittsburgh? Well, the Aaron Rodgers effect, just in general, right? That's going to play some sort of a factor in who we think is going to be interested in Romeo Doubs, because we know that Aaron Rodgers and them played together, and they had somewhat of a decent connection. And if you look in the past, Aaron Rodgers has a history of when he is on a new team, bringing his old teammates with him. He just did it with the Jets, right? Think about when he went to New York. The Jets signed Allen Lazard. They signed his old buddy Randall Cobb. They hired Nathaniel Hackett. And then the year after that, they traded for Devontae Adams. All of those moves, Aaron Rodgers initiated to get more comfortable. Why else Pittsburgh? Well, currently as they're constructed, I'm not too impressed with their weapons, and I don't think you probably are either. And that's speaking from a team who has a ton of weapons, right? It's easy for us to look at other teams and say, I don't love their pass catchers, I don't love their running backs. But I think you would agree with me when it comes to Pittsburgh. Like, here are their best pass catchers. DK Metcalf, dude's a beast, right? I'm not going to say a bad word about DK Metcalf. He is a top 15 wide receiver, maybe top 10 gauge, I'm not sure. Then Jonnu Smith, good pass-catching tight end, but he's really your second-best option. Calvin Austin III, he's shown flashes, but he's yet to show anything with consistency. And then Roman Wilson. Like, that's not that great. It really isn't. So they could use a Romeo Doubs because he'd fit in right there under DK Metcalf as the second best wide receiver, second best pass catching option on this team. Now, why New England? Well, all off season long, New England was constantly being mentioned as possibly taking place in a trade for Romeo Doubs. And the reason that is they might have the worst wide receiver core in the National Football League. It is really bad. It makes Pittsburgh looks like they have prime Jerry Rice, Michael Irvin, Randy Moss, and Megatron on it. Because all New England has is Kayshon Boutte, who looked good week one, but still waiting to see some sort of consistency in his career. Stephon Diggs, that does not really move the needle for me at his age and coming off an ACL tear as well. And then Demario Douglas. That's their third best option when it comes to their pass catchers on offense. So they need a guy like Romeo Doubs. Which of those two guys do you think trades for Doubs? Type PIT if you think it's the Steelers. And if you think it's the Patriots, go ahead, hit me with an NE for New England in the comment section down below. Weigh in with your answer and you let me know. That's going to do it for today's show. Appreciate you guys for tuning in with us. Make sure you got me followed on social media. You can find me there on Twitter and on Instagram, both at Joey Petersen 8. And guys, we got an awesome next couple 24 hours coming up for you guys on the show. 48 hours. We'll get a video out tomorrow morning. That'll give you a preview on Commanders, Packers. Then, of course, we will be live for that game tomorrow night. It's going to be an absolute blast. Make sure you don't miss a moment. Make sure you subscribe.